'Tis the season. Yes, it is 2020 new Christmas movie season. We're going to talk about 4 of the new movies you can check out for the holiday season on streamers right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dan Reviews It. My name is Dan, and I've been talking for weeks about doing a Netflix holiday movie wrap up. They've got several new movies for the Christmas season this year. And it turns out we're actually not going to do all Netflix movies. We have one Hulu in the mix here, but I did review a Netflix Christmas one a few weeks ago called Holiday with Emma Roberts, and I gave that a B minus. That review is already up. I can post the link below there in the discussion, so you can check that out if you're interested. But I've selected 3 other very popular Netflix recent Christmas movies. There's actually way more than that. There's probably like 7 or 8 out there. Operation Christmas Drop is one of them, and there's a documentary about a dance troupe that is doing a Christmas concert with Debbie Allen being the choreographer. But I've chosen Jingle Jangle, Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square, which actually Debbie Allen choreographed, so she's still kind of in the mix here, and then the Christmas Chronicles 2 with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, a sequel to, of course, the very popular 2018 Christmas Chronicles. But we are going to start with the Hulu movie, which is Happiest season. Before we get into any of that, though, please do subscribe below. Hit that like button if you like my videos. And comment, too. I love hearing from you guys, whether it's on topics of these movies or whatever else is on your mind. I love interacting with you. Let me know if you saw these movies, if you liked them, if you didn't like them, if I'm right on the money, if I'm way off base to you. Let me know, and we'll get the conversation started. So let's dive into it. Like I said, we'll start actually with the Hulu movie, which is called Happiest Season. And this really, I would say, stars Kristen Stewart and who else? I mean, Mary Steenburgen and Victor Garber play the parents of Kristen Stewart's girlfriend, and Mackenzie Davis plays the girlfriend. But this is really a group kind of situation. I mean, yes, I would say Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis are the stars, but there really, are a lot of people in the mix here. And just by nature of how everything's kind of set up and people being mostly confined to one house and sort of secrets going on about each other. It reminds me a little bit of a really underrated movie from a few years ago called This Is Where I Leave You with Jane Fonda and Jason Bateman, among many, many others. But so basically, in this movie, you've got Abby, which is Kristen Stewart, and Harper, Mackenzie Davis. They have been dating. In fact, it's going so well that Abby is thinking of proposing to Harper over this Christmas weekend. And Harper has not told her family at all about Abby, but she doesn't reveal that to Abby until they're on their way to the house in one of the opening scenes. So right away, you've got some tension there. There's, a little secrecy going on that we'll find out about. And we sort of find out along the way why maybe Harper has kept that a secret. Mary Steenburgen, like I said, plays the mother. Victor Garber plays the father, who is, in politics, and he obviously has a reputation to uphold. And Mary Steenburgen's character, Tipper, is just kind of, a classic sort of Stepford wife kind of thing. Everything's got to be just so. And, she prides herself on her perfect family and all of this. And as we learn, nobody maybe is perfect as we move along. We've got Alison Brie here as the oldest sister, Sloane. We've got Mary Holland as Jane, another of the sisters. And we also have in a supporting role Dan Levy, or Levy, of course, recently off of Schitt's Creek. But he is playing here Abby's gay best friend, who is sort of tasked with pet sitting while she's gone. However, he's not very good at it, and some hilarity ensues from that. But essentially, the movie is about keeping this secret. When they arrive at the house, they sort of establish, okay, well, this is my roommate Abby, and she had nowhere to go for Christmas because her parents are both deceased and this and that, and so they stick her in the basement, and it goes on from there. We don't really do spoilers on this channel, so that's really all I'll say. But that is the basic setup and premise of this film. Now, as you can tell from the description, it is a pretty queer kind of movie. You've got the lesbian couple, you've got Dan Levy as the gay character, and we also have Aubrey Plaza in a supporting role too as Harper's ex-girlfriend, who she also kind of kept hidden back when they were in school together. So we find out maybe Harper has kind of a history of this. And so, as a gay guy myself, I always like when there's, some sort of slant to the norm. I think this could have been a bit more standard without the gay storyline, certainly. But then you also don't really have any of the tension. I mean, that's sort of the whole premise of the movie, is that we're keeping the relationship a secret. And, it was big news this year earlier when it was either Hallmark or Lifetime, I forget, but one of them released their first ever gay-themed Christmas movie where it was, a male couple and falling in love or whatever. I don't watch the Hallmark movies. I don't watch the Lifetime Christmas movies. It's not my thing. Christmas movies and me, we have sort of a sordid history. I don't hate them, but it's not something where I will just watch Christmas movies for a month straight. There's a few that maybe I will watch every few years. The Ref is one of them. Scrooged is one of them. But I'm not obsessed with Christmas movies, partially because they are mainly so rote and and so routine. And here we sort of defer a little bit off of that path because of the gay storylines and everything, but at the heart it is really about this perfect family who doesn't want anybody to sort of get in their way of that, and as a result, well, I don't want to give too much away, but essentially, as family Christmas movies go, we've seen the whole big secret thing before. The Family Stone is a good example of that. And we've seen it, outside of Christmas movies as well. But inside Christmas movies, a typical theme for a family film, or a movie about a family, I should say. This is not quite what I would call a family film, like actually all three of the Netflix movies are. This one is the only one, I would say, probably. I think the PG-13 is an appropriate rating. You don't want to go maybe below 10 or 11 years old if you're watching this. All three of the Netflix movies are very family-friendly. You can watch any of them. But anyway, what I mean by that is centering around a family. And a lot of times we will, have that sort of big secret, and it inevitably ends up getting revealed. So it's a question of, how does it get revealed? What happens afterwards? What is the aftermath of the secret coming out, et cetera, et cetera. So, look, the cast here is great. I have been a fan of Kristen Stewart for a while now. I don't like the Twilight movies. I've had that pretty established, but the other things I've seen her in, I typically like. Even if the movie's not great, I typically like at least her performance in it. And then Mackenzie Davis, you might not know, but she's been in a few things you may have seen. She was in *Halt and Catch Fire*. She was in *Terminator: Dark Fate*. She was like one of the soldiers in that. So she's popped up. And then this supporting cast is fantastic. I mean, Victor Garber, I've loved him since obviously the Titanic days, and maybe even before that, if I can remember. Mary Steenburgen, I've been a fan of since Back to the Future 3, and then, of course, her romance with Ted Danson. She seems like a lovely person, so it's nice to see her sink her teeth into a real, bitch kind of role, as we see here, and maybe we find out a little bit why that is as the movie goes on as well, and as well all the other supporting players, Alison Brie, Aubrey Plaza, Dan Levy. I really enjoy pretty much all of them, and they're all great here. They all work very well together. This is a family that you really do believe, is of that sort of we've got to be perfect type of ilk, and the relationship between Abby and Harper is complex. It is complicated, and I've actually talked to a few of my gay friends that have watched it to sort of get their take on it, because there's a few things that happen in this movie that I think could be construed as either not necessarily anti-gay, but just not really moving the gay lifestyle forward in a positive light, sort of thing. And there's a great part in this movie. Again, not going to do spoilers, but Dan Levy and Kristen Stewart's characters have this really great moment where they sort of talk about the coming out process and how it's not the same for everybody, and that maybe Harper has her reasons for not coming out, and maybe they're good ones, maybe they're not good ones. It's all kind of open to interpretation. And I thought that was a really important scene to have in this movie, because it's very true. And look, Dan Levy himself is gay. Kristen Stewart, has come out as bi years ago. So, they're not doing a movie that I think they would ever want to shine a negative light on that lifestyle. But, for me, this was a really well put together movie. It's certainly funny at times. And it's got that classic, family tension that we see in a lot of Christmas movies, certainly ones with secrets at the helm. And I think it works on just about all the cylinders. I mean, my complaints about it really are that you can certainly telegraph some of what you're going to see. I mean, some of it is kind of routine. Some of the twists are not, though. I have to admit, there were a few things in this movie that surprised me. But everybody, is really going in guns a-blazing with this script. And it's directed, by the way, I guess she's a first-time director. She's known more for sort of bit roles as an actress, but Clea Duvall, and she co-wrote it and directed it. And so I'm not sure if this is maybe something that's based in her reality. Maybe this is how her family was, or how her girlfriend's family was. I don't even know if she's gay, to be completely honest. But this seems like it's something that is ripped from somebody's real life, because it does seem very, very true in many ways. And look, I've certainly been in Abby's situation. I've been in relationships where maybe the person wasn't out, and it is tough, and everybody does have their own reasons for it. I thought there was a lot of realism to some of these scenes, for sure. So overall, I'm going to wrap it with Happiest season there. I'm going to leave this movie with an A-. I think this is one that has definite rewatchability factor, which not all Christmas movies do. Some do and some don't. Some you could watch every year. Obviously a lot of people like to watch Elf or the Santa Claus or Christmas Story or Christmas Vacation over and over and over again. I'm not sure if you'll want to watch this every single year, but I could easily see this being in a rotation of sorts for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought they did a lot right. So let's move to all the Netflix movies, and let's start with the Christmas Chronicles 2. Now, full disclosure, I've not seen the Christmas Chronicles, so what I did was, rather than spend another 2 hours watching yet another Christmas movie, I just decided to look up like an 8-minute video synopsis on YouTube, and then I also read the wiki page about the plot. And to be honest, I'm not sure how much I even needed to really do that. I mean, it definitely helped, I guess, but this really does kind of act as a standalone movie, essentially. It's a little bit helpful, I guess, to learn what the lead girl did in the first one, and like what her relationship is with Santa. But that's really about it. Other than that, I think you can watch this without really knowing much about the first one. But anyway, that is Darby Camp, by the way, the girl that I speak of. She plays Kate Pierce here, and she helped out Santa Claus in the last movie. And we have Kurt Russell here returning as Santa Claus, the role he was born to play, and then in a much more front and center role in this movie is his real life partner Goldie Hawn. She appeared in a cameo at the end of the first movie, but here, she is one of the top billed people. She, of course, plays Mrs. Claus, and we see a lot more of her, I guess, in this one than we did in the last one. And the main sort of crisis of this movie is we have this young elf played by Julian Dennison, who you might know from this great indie movie called Hunt for the Wilder People, but you probably more know him as the kid in Deadpool 2. And he was adopted by Santa Claus and decides that he's had enough. He goes rogue and turns human because of his trying to rebel. And they whoever did the design work on this movie, by the way, because they tell like his backstory of when he was an elf, and they made an elf that looks so much like little Julian Dennison, and he voices the elf too. It's very well done. So props to the prop crew and the makeup crew and all of that kind of stuff, special effects for this movie. But anyway, basically Christmas is going to be canceled because he steals the star from top of the tree at the North Pole, and so he has to figure out, or Santa Claus, I should say, has to figure out how to get it back and save Christmas. So this is a typical saves Christmas type story. We've seen this in a lot of movies, of course. Look, I don't think anybody is rewriting the book on Christmas movies. There's a lot of stock stuff, that we get in these, and this is directed by Chris Columbus, who did not direct the first one, by the way, but, of course, he's no stranger to holiday movies. Home Alone is, I would say, his pinnacle, but he's directed some of the Harry Potter stuff, which is not necessarily, Christmas-themed, but he's directed a few different Christmas movies along the way as well, and so he is here for part 2, even though he wasn't a part of the first one. And I think, without seeing the first one, I can tell that Chris Columbus did add a little touch to this because it does seem very, very, classic Christmas in that sort of Home Alone, John Hughes type of way. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn are going full blast here, 110%. They are putting themselves into these roles, and to be honest, they're great. Kurt Russell, I think, more so than Goldie. She, look, I love her from way back. I think she's, God bless her, but she's got too much work done on her face, so she's got that thing where she can't really emote with her face very well anymore. Cher has the same problem, and I love Cher. I loved Burlesque, but some of these actresses, when they get up in years, and actors on occasion too, but mainly actresses that were, known for being very, very beautiful women in their younger years, decide to do a lot of work, and a lot of times it really actually hampers their acting. So, Goldie Hawn's doing her best here, but Kurt Russell really is the one who's carrying the day. And look, the Darby girl, Darby Camp, she's good as Kate as well. Julian Dennison is fine as Belschnickel the elf, but, this is really a vehicle for Kurt Russell. And we see, him doing the whole Santa Claus thing. They have added some rules to the things, and they've talked about the different workshops and, sort of expanded on some of the things that we know about Christmas. That is one thing about Christmas movies that involve Santa Claus, is that everybody sort of has a little bit of a different interpretation of Santa's workshop and the North Pole and what the sleigh looks like and all of that. So I will give Christmas Chronicles a little bit of credit for that, or at least Christmas Chronicles 2, for giving us, a few new nuggets of maybe information about the way Santa Claus lives and how the North Pole is and all of that sort of thing. This movie goes on too long, for sure. It is nearly 2 hours. It's about an hour and 55 minutes. There is a random song in the middle. Darlene Love plays an airport worker, and her and Kurt Russell just bust into song. It's very bizarre. It's a good tune, and look, I could listen to Darlene Love sing The Phone Book. She's great and always has been. Kurt Russell, he's an okay singer, but more it's about the performance and the dancing of Santa Claus and all the moves and all that. But you could have lifted that part out, and as well, you could have lifted a few different scenes out of this movie. It goes on far too long. A movie like this does not need to be any longer than maybe 100 minutes, which is an hour and 40. So that's easily 15 minutes shorter than this. However, that being said, I actually did kind of like this movie. I didn't think I would. And it's actually the only one of all four that we're doing that Santa Claus is actually in. I don't think Santa is in a lot of new Christmas movies anymore. I can't think, like Hallmark and Lifetime Christmas movies, they're usually about just the romance of the couple. So you don't really need Santa Claus for that. And yeah, some of these other movies, I mean, there's an Angel in the Dolly Parton one, Jingle Jangle's about a toy shop, but none of them actually have Santa Claus except this. And Kurt Russell, for my money, is one of the best Santa Clauses in a long, long time. To me, he ranks right up there with Tim Allen from the Santa Claus. So, look, this movie is certainly not great, but it is a positive grade for me. If somebody told me that they wanted me to watch the first one, I probably would, because I really do like this Kurt Russell portrayal of Santa Claus, and I love his interaction with Goldie Hawn. Of course, they have that chemistry from 35 years ago, and then of course they've been a couple for that long too, so they always have good chemistry whenever they're on screen together. But overall, this was a little bit too routine, and definitely a little bit too long. So I'm going to leave Christmas Chronicles 2 with a B minus. It's all right. So up next, we're going to talk about Jingle Jangle. This is a brand new holiday musical for the whole family, and it starts out with Felicia Rashad as a grandmother reading a brand new story to her grandkids, and they're sort of sick of, I think she's about to read them the night before Christmas maybe, and they're like, oh, we don't want this again, give us a new story. So we go into the story, really, and it takes place decades after this situation took place. But Forrest Whitaker is an inventor, and he has this apprentice decades earlier that ends up stealing one of his toy ideas and ends up becoming this great, very respected, very celebrated toy maker for the next 20-some years because of that. And as a result, the grandfather, the Forrest Whitaker character, his granddaughter comes in and wants to help him and help figure out how to get things back on track. And so the cast includes, I said Forrest Whitaker already. He's the toy maker. We've got Keegan-Michael Key as Gustafson, who is the former apprentice that stole from him. Apprentice of Chronicles is the name of Forrest Whitaker's character. Then you've also got some smaller roles. Ricky Martin voices this matador figurine that has come to life in the old days, and that's sort of how the apprentice makes his way. He kind of steals him and makes him his own, so he won't be mass-produced. Ricky Martin voices him. Hugh Bonneville is here as well as a banker, and that's really all I know. But the newcomer, the little girl, Madeline Mills, she has a big role here as well. She's certainly one of the top stars of the movie. So the full title of this, by the way, is Jingle Jangle, A Christmas Journey. And I had heard about this for a while. It was in Netflix's top 10 for a few weeks upon release. So I finally decided to watch it for this video, and I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't know quite what to expect. I knew it was a musical, and I knew it was a musical with all new music, which we don't get a lot of anymore. The Greatest Showman, La La Land, these are rare examples. And actually, the Dolly Parton one, Christmas on the Square, that we're going to talk about next, she wrote a lot of original music for that as well. So I really like that we're sort of exploring, new Christmas traditions and new Christmas songs. Not that all of these are necessarily about Christmas. In fact, I would say most of these songs are not about Christmas, which maybe is one thing that makes this movie so good, because it's not necessarily Christmas specific. I think this is a movie unlike the Christmas Chronicles or Dolly Parton's Christmas on the Square that we're going to talk about. I think you could probably watch this year-round because the music is really good. Now, is it on par with The Greatest Showman? No, but it reminds me a lot of the energy of some of those Greatest Showman songs. And the singing here is great. One person I didn't mention because she's only in like one scene, but Annika Noni Rose, who voices the princess in Princess and the Frog, and she was in Dreamgirls. You know she can sing. I don't know if I knew Forrest Whitaker could sing, but he does okay here. But Ricky Martin, of course, can sing. Keegan-Michael Key, he can sing. And these songs are good. You know, they're not top tier. They're not. But many of them are quite catchy. Now, unfortunately for the little girl, Madeline Mills, her two songs that she sings by herself are two of the weaker ones in the bunch, which is just a shame, because they're not as energetic as some of the other ones. They're the more, ballady ones, forlorn, melancholy, and so they're not as catchy. So, maybe upon watching this more times, or listening to the soundtrack or whatever, I would grow to love those songs, but they don't quite jump off the screen as well as some of the other songs. But anyway, John Legend had a big part in the score as well, and of course, look, that guy, I can't say he can do no wrong, but he is talented beyond measure, so it doesn't surprise me that he was involved with this. Some of the acting's okay, and the robot that they grow to discover and sort of is part of the stress in the movie. Part of the conflict in the movie comes from this robot that sort of comes to life. I thought the design of the robot was kind of uninspired, because it reminded me almost exactly of the robot in Earth to Echo. Now, I know that's not a very popular movie, but it did exist, and the robot here has, I thought, a lot of things in common with the robot from Earth to Echo. So that maybe is a little bit unoriginal, but one of the great things about this movie is the settings, the costumes. Oh my gosh, the costumes. They're is so great, especially like Keegan-Michael Key as Gustafson. He really, like, as this big toy maker, he becomes this larger than life person, almost Wonka-esque, you could say. And so his costumes are very lavish, and a lot of the people that work for him, and and it's a sharp contrast then between what Geronicus is doing in his lab, because he's almost to the point of destitute, where he's really fallen on hard times and having issues, and so there's that darkness, and then contrasted with the brightness whenever Gustafson comes on the screen. And we also have Lisa Divina Phillip here, who is sort of after Geronicus's heart, and there's some flirtiness between them. I'm not sure how much I loved that, but she can sing, and she sings a couple of really, really big show-stopping numbers, one of them which is kind of directed at her affection for him. So I guess I can't hate the subplot that much, because I do love that song. But yeah, boy, this was a really good movie all the way around. I really was looking forward to it, because I heard many good things about it, specifically from some of my theater friends who pay very close attention to things like staging and costumes and stuff like that, and they were all raving about it, and it does not disappoint in any of those regards. My complaints with it would just be that, unfortunately, a couple of the songs don't really quite hit the more down-tempo numbers, and the acting from some of the people's okay, but really this is, I think, more about the spectacle and all of that than the acting specifically. And then, of course, the robot was a little, Buddy 3000. He was a little bit, I thought, of a ripoff. But look, the singing is great. The choreography is great. The costumes are great. I think this is a really good family movie. I think it's maybe one of the best family movies of 2020. I'm trying to think. People seem to like Onward more than I did. I should probably watch Onward again. And Sonic the Hedgehog, I think you could say that's more probably geared towards kids than it is families. I think this is a great family movie. I leave Jingle Jangle: A Christmas Journey with a B+. So let's close with Dolly Parton and her movie called Christmas on the Square. And this is she co-stars in this as an angel, but I would say the main star here is Christine Baranski, who plays Regina. She, her father recently died, who basically, ran this town. He kind of owned the town, I guess, or whatever. And so now she owns the town, and she is returning right before Christmas to evict everybody and sell the land to a big mall developer. I don't know how they're going to build a mall on an entire town, but all right. Some of these Christmas movies you just have to kind of go with. You're like, okay, we get it. You have to be evil because you're the evil woman in the movie, and whatever. So you just go with it. But it seems a little silly. But we have Jennifer Lewis here as well, who you might know from Blackish. She plays Marjolaine, one of Regina's good friends from childhood. And then a few other people I didn't really recognize, and then Treat Williams is here as well, being horrible as usual with his character. He just, it's funny. Dolly Parton did a movie maybe 10 years ago called Joyful Noise with Queen Latifah. Maybe it wasn't quite that long ago, but close. And instead of Treat Williams, it was Chris Christopherson. And I thought the same thing. I was like, all right, this guy's career was big in country music like 30, 40 years ago. I'm not seeing it now. Here's another one. Chris Christopherson has had so much work done. His face doesn't even move anymore. Treat Williams was kind of like the stand-in I felt for Chris Christopherson. And then Dolly Parton, God bless her. She is a wonderful woman. I sing her praises for her charity work and her wonderful, wonderful commitment to, music education and, literacy and all of these great things that she's done. But boy, this movie is a dog. It's just it combines like 5 different Christmas movies into one, and none of them particularly well. So that's number one. Number two, the songs that she's written for this are just not that good. There's a couple of good ones, but compared to Jingle Jangle, and I watched this first actually. I watched them both on the same night, but I watched this one first, and so it's not even like I was comparing it to the songs in Jingle Jangle at that point. But then once I saw Jingle Jangle, I was like, oh my god, like these songs are 9s and 10s. The Dolly Parton movie is like 3s and 4s, and it should be noted that they didn't even put a soundtrack out to this movie. Dolly did 2 songs from the movie on her 2020 Christmas album, but there's no like official soundtrack. So to me, that even proves that like even the filmmakers kind of were like, these aren't the best songs that we've heard. So I don't know. If you're a huge Dolly fan, I don't know. Maybe you'll like the music more than I did, but I have no problem with Dolly's music at all. But boy, the best thing I can say about this movie, and look, I am a Christine Baranski fan. I go back to the 90s when she was the co-star on the Sybil TV show, all the way through, obviously The Good Wife and The Good Fight. I talk about them all the time. 2 of my favorite shows really of the last 10, 15 years. And she's the star of The Good Fight. So I always love seeing her. But look, she's played this character in so many different movies and shows over the years. She adds nothing. Even though I like her, she adds nothing. And Dolly comes on as this angel, and there's like another angel in training, and it all is very like we've seen that in 5 different movies. The angel thing has been done to death in Christmas movies especially. And Dolly just looks weird too. Like at the beginning, I couldn't tell if they were like CGIing her into the scene. She seems so petite compared to everybody else. I know she's not a very tall woman, but she was sitting like on this stoop because she's like a homeless angel, whatever. And it just looked weird. The low budget here, you can very much tell. The one thing this movie has going for it, I started to say that and I kind of veered off about how great Christine Baranski is. But the one thing this has going for it is that everybody really is giving it their all. Nobody is phoning in a performance. They just don't have a good script to work from. And there's also, limited amount of of locations. So everything takes place in like one of 4 or 5 different places, and because of that, it plays very much like some sort of local theater production, some sort of summer stock, or some sort of high school play. Even it's especially some of the side characters aren't even that good. I mean, there were probably better people in my high school, that could carry a tune more than some of these people, and could certainly act better than some of these people. I really hate to dump on this because I do like Dolly Parton, but this is a dog of a movie. I'm not going to fail it because, like I said, I will say everybody is really, really giving it their all. Nobody's phoning it in. You could tell everybody is proud to be a part of this movie. They're happy to be in something that Dolly Parton has given us. And look, the songs aren't all completely horrible. There's like 2 or 3 that, okay, they're fine. But also, they bust into them every. There's like 30 seconds of dialogue and then another song. It's like, oh my God, we get it. Maybe if they wrote down a couple of scenes to play out without music coming up every 30 seconds, maybe we could even develop the story a little better. But this was just rough. I hate to be a Scrooge here, but Christmas on the Square gets a D from me. This is a bad movie. I do not recommend it. And when I saw the lineup, I thought I would probably like this more than the Christmas Chronicle 2, but I did not. Christmas Chronicle 2, man, that I could recommend. I mean, I maybe could be talked into giving Christmas on the Square a D+, maybe, if somebody was like, okay, well, the music isn't. I mean, the music, like I said, if Jingle Jangle songs are 9s and 10s, the music here are 3s and 4s. They're not 1s. They're not 1s or 2s, really, but it plays out horribly like a bad theater production of a Christmas show that they wrote themselves. So I'm going to stick with my D for now. Maybe by the end of the year, I'll have my cold dead Grinch heart will have been melted. But for now, I'm going to leave Christmas on the Square with a D. All right, so that's it. That's my Christmas lineup. I'm still doing very well on trying to watch one new movie every day in December. So there are going to be a lot of movie reviews coming up, which makes sense because The Conners is over for the year. Masked Singer only has 1 episode left, so I will be needing some content for my channel sooner than later, so I will try and review some of those other movies for you coming up. I know there's a lot of recent non-Christmas related streaming movies that I'd like to get to, so we'll do some of those in the coming weeks as well. But that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye.